Motivation is always limited, while systems are automatic. It's 3 a.m. and I've been drowning in the impending doom of my future and happiness for the past 3 hours. I'm not the most productive person in the world. I'm not the most mentally resilient person in the world either. Hello, like what's going on? Is this the sun or is this like a halogen lamp? Ultimate goal is to build systems and routines that make it as easy as possible for you to achieve your goals. So I've been waking up at 6 a.m. around 5 years now since high school. And before high school, I could not tell you what I was doing. I honestly did not form a single thought before the age of like 15. I think I gained consciousness when I was 15. But anyways, ultimately, I do think I've been doing this long enough where I can give you guys some of my best tips on how to wake up early and how to make that part of your identity. I feel like a lot of people frame waking up early as this like macho motivation grindset kick thing where you have to wake up and take an ice bath and like run a 6K. I don't see it that way. I think like any habit, waking up early is about setting up systems that make waking up early as easy as possible for you. You have to remember that motivation is always limited, while systems are automatic. I'm not the most productive person in the world. I'm not the most mentally resilient person in the world either, so I always have to make things as easy as possible for me. So in this video, I'm gonna break my morning into 3 phases and how this allows me to wake up early without fail almost every single day. I know a lot of you are gonna hate to hear this, but waking up early starts with sleeping early. You have to truly ask yourselves, what is making you stay up late? Why is your bedtime regularly around 2 a.m. and 3 a.m.? My best guess is that because you're surrounded by so many distractions in your life, whether you're scrolling all day and you put things off, you start doing the things that you have to do maybe at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. and you end up staying up late, trying to study for a test or doing homework. You end up sleeping at 3 a.m. and then waking up even at 8 a.m. becomes so difficult for you, let alone 5 a.m. Start taking your bedtime as seriously as you would take other deadlines. I think it's kind of sad how we've wired ourselves to only live by other people's deadlines, whether it be a deadline set by a teacher, our professors, or our bosses. Those deadlines we take so seriously, but when it comes to our sleep, we're suddenly like, oh yeah, whatever. I'll like stay up all night if I have to. I set a hard internal rule for myself that 10 p.m. is the time that everything needs to be done. I close shop and I start getting ready for bed. And if I don't get everything done by 10 p.m., that's on me. I should have planned earlier and I have to face the consequences myself, so I'm more motivated to actually meet the 10 p.m. deadline the next day. It just kind of forces you to get things done throughout the day instead of putting them off because you blindly think that you have the entire night to get things done. So I would start taking your bedtime as seriously as other people's deadlines as well. Another important thing to do throughout the day is to quiet your mind. I think a large reason of why people can't fall asleep early or can't fall asleep as easily is because you're constantly thinking about things right before you sleep. Throughout the day, you wake up doom scrolling, you listen to music all day, and you don't give your brain a break. And then suddenly, before you sleep, you're enraptured in this sudden sense of silence and quietness, and then you're forced to think about things that you haven't thought about throughout the day, and one thing leads to another, one thought leads to another, and suddenly you're like, okay, it's 3 a.m. and I've been drowning in the impending doom of my future and happiness for the past 3 hours. That might be another core reason why you're staying up late. So what I suggest is actually having pockets of meditation throughout the day. I feel like meditation has been way too glorified by the media as this performative wellness kick where you're supposed to like sit in a well-decorated corner, light a candle, and listen to some woman's sultry voice telling you to connect with your yaya. What the even is a yaya? Meditation doesn't have to look like that. Meditation can literally look like you sitting on the edge of your bed, spacing out for 3 minutes, just focusing on your breathing. You don't have to have some guided person telling you to like resurrect your soul or something. You can just sit there quietly and think about what's been going on in your day, think about what's going on inside your body, how does your breathing feel, and really start to focus on how you actually feel in that moment. I think we're in a really strange age where everything we do and everything that we think is inherently dictated by the media that we're consuming at that moment in time. For example, sometimes I'll be watching a TikTok and I'll think that it's super funny, and I'll open the comment sections and people will be like clowning on that person, and suddenly I'm like, oh wait, never mind, it's not that funny. The idea that every thought and every mood that I have could be dictated by the media that I'm consuming is actually really terrifying. So having those pockets in your day where you're sitting down and truly reflecting on how you actually feel, not how your phone screen is telling you how to feel, is really helpful in clearing your mind throughout the day. So by the time you get to bed, your mind is completely decluttered, and all you have to do now is quiet everything down and fall asleep. In summary, waking up early starts with sleeping early. So take your bedtime seriously and declutter your mind throughout the day. And remember, this all takes takes practice and routine. You're not gonna suddenly watch this video and fall asleep like a baby at 10 p.m. tonight, but you have to constantly put in the effort and take your bedtime seriously. So phase 2 is the morning after. So you've fallen asleep early, you've gotten a good night's rest, and now you're awake somehow at 6 a.m. You feel groggy. There's nothing better to do than to go back to sleep to whatever dream you were just having. The biggest tip I have for you guys for here is to start building small action items that you can do immediately after you wake up. The mental barrier of thinking about, oh, I have to wake up at 6 a.m. tomorrow to go to the gym is so high. Honestly, if you're in a stage where you're like super motivated, sure, it can work for like a week, and then you're just gonna fall back right into your old habits. Always make things as easy as possible for yourself and build up to whatever you want to be doing. So the first thing you do in the morning has to be small and doable. A lot of people will be like, oh, I read for 30 minutes first thing in the morning. I don't know how they do that. I read a single sentence that's gonna put me right back to sleep. What I personally like to do is I first start by drinking 500 milliliters of warm water that I have ready by my bedside before I go to sleep. This ensures that I don't have the extra mental barrier of getting up, trying to get myself a cup of water. It's literally just there and I just chug it on the spot. After that, I immediately get up and I do 50 jumps on the spot. Just 50 small little jumps. This allows me to do 3 large things. First of all, a circulation boost. So if you've been lying horizontal all night, then your blood is pooling in places that it shouldn't be pooling in. Your heart has been beating slower than it's been beating all day. So your circulation system is kind of on a slowdown, right? Jumping 50 times first thing in the morning just allows me to get that quick circulation boost, gets the blood flowing to my brain, which helps me kind of clear out that morning fog that we all inevitably are going to have in the morning. It also allows me to activate my lymphatic system. So if you have your circulation system, which is the blood that's flowing in your body, you also have something called the lymphatic system. Now your lymph nodes or your lymph fluid is basically what clears out the waste, and it also delivers like your white blood cells, which are the things that fight infections, to different parts of your body. But the interesting thing about the lymphatic system is, unlike your blood system, your circulation system, your lymphatic system doesn't have a pump, i.e. it doesn't operate on heart contraction. Your lymph nodes largely rely on muscle movement and bodily movement. So jumping 50 times kind of lets me kickstart that system as well and lets me tell my body, hey, rest is over, we're ready to go. Help me out here. And finally, it acts as a light metabolism kickstart. When you're sleeping, your body is basically in repair mode. It pulls your body out of the standby mode that it's been in throughout your sleep. It tells it like, okay, I'm probably gonna eat some food soon, so you better be ready. A niche tip I have for this is I actually count 50 jumps by the triangle counting method, which means that I count 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 until I reach 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Which sounds ridiculous, but hey, like 50 seems like a big number when you're just woken up and all you want to do is crawl back into bed, okay? Counting in the triangle method where you're like, oh, I just have to count up to 10. That kind of removes that small bit of mental barrier of like, oh my god, I have to jump 50 times. Which sounds ridiculous, but again, it's about making systems and things as easy for yourself as possible so that you can just do it on autopilot without having to think about it or without having to push yourself to do something. I then go brush my teeth to get rid of the morning breath and also as a way to remind myself that hygiene always comes first. In my 5 a.m., 6 a.m. study vlogs that you guys really love, you'll see me brushing my teeth first thing in the morning, and that's just part of my routine. A more recent thing that I've started to do is just write 3 pages as soon as I wake up. I don't know if I necessarily really love this. I might do it after I brush my teeth, so it's kind of like just a placement issue, and I haven't done it for long enough for me to have like insightful reflections on it. Just a tidbit that it is something that I've been doing first thing in the morning as well these days. I literally just thought dump. Sometimes I'll recap my dreams in that moment, which is really fun to do and really fun to read back on. The point is, figure out what you want to do for yourself. It doesn't have to be this big grand thing where you're like, okay, I'm gonna wake up and run a 6K first thing in the morning. Figure out small, doable, actionable items that you can do that's not simply doom scrolling on your phone. The final phase is this bigger picture idea where you have to live by the seasons and also live by your body. So you've probably noticed these days as you go into your seasonal depression wormhole, so sorry girl, been there. When the sun sets at 4 p.m. and rises at 5 a.m., you're just like, what is just going on, right? It's important to adjust your routines to how the seasons change and how your day-to-day body changes as well. One really good investment is a really good quality eye mask. Me personally, I spent like 30 bucks on this, which I know feels like a lot for an eye mask, but it truly, like genuinely, this thing has changed my life. It's so comfortable and it literally blocks out all the light possible in my room. So even the light pollution that seeps into my window, sometimes this thing is just gonna take care of me. And there's a reason why eye masks are so important to your sleep quality. It's because your sleep quality is intrinsically tied with the way that your eye views light throughout the day and throughout the night. A little bit of a scientific fun fact for you guys. Think back to your hunter-gatherer days, right? This is where there's no such thing as electricity. All the light we're relying on is the way the sun rises and the sun sets. So our bodies have actually evolved to tune our body clocks to our environmental clock. Now these days that's all gone to shit, right? Because like regardless of where you are in the world, you're always gonna find a way to like be in the presence of some kind of light. Open the door at like midnight and still like there are street lamps everywhere. Your rooms have so much like bright light going on at like 9 p.m, 10 p.m. And your body is always inherently confused and being like, okay, hello, like what's going on? Is this the sun or is this like a halogen lamp? Your body doesn't know. Your body's very smart, but it's stupider than you think at times. There exists very specific receptors in the back of your eye that is able to tell the difference between the light it gets during sunrise and the light it gets during sunset. Initially, in our primitive days, that triggered our ancestors to know, okay, it's time to wake up and it's time to go to sleep. So the closest thing you can do in order to emulate that is try to look at sunlight first thing in the morning if you can help it. The best way to do that is kind of step outside if you can help it for 15 minutes and just let your eyes absorb the sunlight that's coming from the sunrise, which in almost a primitive sense is going to tell your body on the molecular level that it is time to get up and it is sunrise. And another niche thing you can do is actually get some sunlight during sunset in your eyes, because again, you have receptors in your eyes that tell the difference between the light that comes from sunrises and the light that comes from sunsets. So if you're telling your eyes that, listen, the sun is setting, it starts to trigger this biological reaction that it's starting to tell your body, okay, listen, the sun just set, it's time to slow down, which makes falling asleep way easier. And that's where the eye mask comes in. To maintain that level of understanding for your body that the sun has set, it's really important to block out all sources of light throughout your sleep. So a good quality eye mask is really good for that. It also, on a more non-scientific level, helps so that you're not looking at your phone. Obviously, we all struggle with doom scrolling 30 minutes, an hour before we go to sleep, but if you just have an eye mask on, you're just like, okay, lol, I'm in the abyss, I better just go to sleep. Another niche tip I have for women specifically, I've noticed that my channel's audience is 90% women, so hey to the girlies, is really listen to your bodily clock, especially depending on where you are in your cycle. Us as women, more often than not, we need more rest right before we get our periods. Like those small tweaks I do throughout like the time where I truly have to nourish my body and pay attention to my bodily cues truly helps. So really tuning into your body and listening to what your body needs in terms of where you are in your cycle or where you are in your life when it comes to your moods as well is really important. So don't pressure yourself to do cookie cutter things every single day. At the end of the day, your life is graded by nobody but yourself. Nobody is judging you if you're waking up at 6:30 a.m. when you told yourself you will wake up at 6 a.m. I know a lot of you are really hard on yourself and it's really hard to kind of break out of that cookie cutter perfectionist mode, but trust me, give yourself grace. Be flexible, listen to your body, listen to the sun and the seasons. Ultimate goal is to build systems and routines that make it as easy as possible for you to do and achieve your goals. I hope that helped. I got a lot of comments on my videos being like, how are you up at 4:40 a.m.? How are you up at 5 a.m.? And I'm like, I don't know, girl. I just kind of do it these days. It really doesn't take much for me anymore. And that sense of like, okay, whatever. Like, yeah, I woke up at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. It's like really not a big deal. It's kind of like the flow state that I want you guys to achieve based on this video. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, comment down below what your current bedtime and your current wake up time is, along with your goal bedtime and your goal wake up time, and we can have some productive conversations in the comments.